That proves our point. And when we say Jesus isn't a Jew, but a Muslim. So either way you look at it, he's a sinner. If he casted the first stone, he wouldn't be a sinner. If he's doing this doctrine of love, show me where in the Jewish law it says when you find an adulterer, show her love and compassion. I don't think it's there. So he's a sinner for disregarding the law.
This is just spitting in the face of history. Yeshua was a Muslim, but not a Jew? Again, this is what Muslims must do to keep their scheme going. To claim that Yeshua was a Muslim is one thing, but to deny that he was a Jew requires an amount of audacity that knows no boundaries. If Miriam was a sister of Aaron and a daughter of Amram, as the Quran claims, and both Aaron and Amram were Jews, then how on earth can the product of her womb be anything but a Jew? Now I have heard this argument before, and the most frequently used argument is this one.
Brothers and sisters, we can immediately see by such an example and definition that Jesus Christ himself submitted himself to God, that Moses and Abraham submitted themselves to God, that Isaac and Ishmael submitted themselves to God, that John the Baptist submitted himself to God, and submission means surrender, and surrender means salama. Salama, the one who does that is called Muslim. So what was Jesus? What was Abraham? What was Moses? What was David?
This was Khalid Yassin with the explanation why Yeshua was a Muslim. Now here's the logic for those who couldn't follow. A Muslim is someone who submits to God. And since Yeshua submitted to God, then he was a Muslim, because the Arabic for someone who submits to God is Muslim. And the crowd went berserk. Now watch me use the same logic to show you how Muhammad was a Jew. In Hebrew, a Yehudi is a Jew. That word is derived from the name Yehudah, which means praise of God. So a Yehudi is not only a Jew, but someone who praises God as well. Now since Muhammad praised God, his companions praised God, and every follower of Muhammad praised God, then they are all Yehudim, Jews. And so is every so-called Muslim right now. You are all Jews, you are all Yehudi. And your Quran curses you left and right, yet you followers of Muhammad, being Jews yourself, revere that book. Is there any Muslim that has a problem with what I just said? If you do, then you should all drop this lousy argument that Yeshua was a Muslim. If you don't, hey, welcome to the Jewish family. Point number 38.
We all believe God is all-powerful, divine, pure. Would you believe God makes you unclean? Can God make you dirty? Can God make you impure? Go read Leviticus chapter 1 to 2, verses 1 to 2. It reads that if a lady has a boy, she'll be unclean for 7 days. I want you to go read Luke chapter 2, verses 11. You'll see that Jesus was born to Mary, and she was unclean for a week. I ask you, does God make you unclean? Does God make you dirty? Does that make sense to any of you?
When Sami says this, he is referring to the laws of purity. The fact that Sami even asks this question shows an abysmal lack of knowledge of what he is using as a source for his arguments. Only the ignorant or the deliberately dishonest will ask such a question. Where in the Torah does it say that a baby makes someone unclean? Nowhere. What makes the woman unclean is her bleeding in childbirth, not the child itself, as is perfectly clear from the text in Leviticus 12, the very text that Sami pointed us to. Now check this out. Leviticus 12 reads, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a woman conceives and gives birth to a male, she shall be unclean for 7 days. As in the days of her menstrual flow, she shall be unclean. And for 33 days she shall remain in the blood of purity. She shall not touch anything holy, nor may she enter the sanctuary, until the days of her purification have been completed. And if she gives birth to a female, she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, like her menstruation period. For 66 days she shall remain in the blood of her purity, and she shall offer it up to the Lord and effect atonement for her, and thus she will be purified from the source of her blood. This is the law of a woman who gives birth to a male or a female. Sami points us to these verses, but all you have to do is read them, and you will see that it is never the child that makes you unclean. It is clear that Sami isn't willing to honestly read the text. So this worn-out Ahmed Deedat argument can also be stored with the rest of the worn-out Ahmed Deedat arguments that he proposed to undermine the integrity of our faith. They show nothing but lack of knowledge of what the scriptures teach. Bonus feature.
Now I have 1 minute left. I'll give you my position more in detail of what I believe Jesus in Islam. We believe, first of all, he's called Isa, not Jesus. Jesus, that's a pagan name to start with. Or if you want, call him Yeshua instead of Jesus.
It's time to pack this argument and put it in the garbage can together with the other arguments that preceded this one. The truth is that the name Jesus is an English transliteration of the Greek transliteration Jesus, which is a transliteration from the Hebrew or Aramaic name Yeshua. Here is an illustration with charts. The name Yeshua consists of 4 Hebrew letters, namely, from right to left, the Yud, the Shin, the Vav, and the Ayin. In the Greek, the sh sound of the letter Shin doesn't exist. So the natural replacement for the Shin is the S. This is common and can be seen with the following examples. The name Shaul in Hebrew is Saulos in Greek, which is Saul in English. The name Yerushalayim in Hebrew is Jerusalem in Greek and Jerusalem in English. The name Shimon in Hebrew is Simon in Greek, in Simon in English. Yishai in Hebrew is Yesai in Greek and is Jesse in English. And the name Shlomo in Hebrew is Solomon in Greek and Solomon, of course, in English. These are just a couple examples that illustrate how the Hebrew Shin is replaced with an S in Greek. It's common. The second, the names of men, commonly ended with an S. Here are also a couple of examples that will suffice. The name Yochanan in Hebrew, John, is Johannes in Greek. Tomah in Hebrew, Thomas, is Thomas in Greek. Yaakov becomes Jakobos in Greek, which is James or Jacob. Yehuda becomes Judas, which is Judas or Judah. And Barnaba is Barnabas in English and Barnabas in Greek. And therefore the letter S at the end would replace the ayin at the end of the name Yeshua, since the ayin isn't a vowel to begin with. So just to put it all together to see how the names in the Hebrew and the Greek naturally correspond with one another. We have Yeshua, Jesus, and Jesus. It is a logical transliteration. It has absolutely nothing to do with Zeus. Instead of the name Jesus deriving from Zeus and being a pagan lure for the Gentiles to join the Messianic Jewish faith, it's the only correct and plausible transliteration of the Hebrew Yeshua. And Jesus is just a logical transliteration from the Greek to the English. And by the way, if you as a Muslim want to object to the use of the name Jesus because it supposedly comes from the pagan Zeus, then you have to drop the name Isa too, because that's not the original either. Yeshua and the disciples didn't speak Arabic. The name Isa doesn't exist in Hebrew or Aramaic. That seems to be derived from the pagan name ISIS. So don't use double standards. You want to reject the name Jesus because it is not the original, then drop the name Isa too because it's not the original either.